Hello, welcome to the channel Why Stories. Enjoy watching.
Are you going back to your inherited shack or what? Better grab a rag and go wash the floors. Her husband laughed before the divorce, but when he saw what she inherited. Welcome to our channel. We invite you to watch a video with our new original story. For Carolina, her husband's confession about cheating came like a bolt from the blue. And you're just telling me this like it's nothing? Nicholas's wife looked at him in disbelief after he casually announced over dinner that he had another woman. What did you expect? He smirked. You know, I think we should be honest with each other. And how long has this been going on? 3 months, Nicholas sighed, wiping his hands on a towel. By the way, thanks for dinner. As always, delicious. Nicholas, are you out of your mind? Carolina froze in her chair. Are you serious right now? A mistress? A nice dinner? Is this how it's supposed to be done? Well, how then? Nicholas paused. Carolina, we're adults. I cheated and I admitted it. The dinner's good? It is. That's not the point. You're cheating on me. And you talk about it as if nothing happened. We've been married 11 years. Do you really think I'll just stay silent and everything will go back to how it was? It won't. Her husband shook his head. Carolina, I've made my decision. I respect you as a person, but as a woman you no longer interest me. I want a divorce. What? A divorce? Carolina's mouth dropped open in shock. Are you insane? Stop questioning my sanity, Nicholas flared up. Carolina, aren't you listening? I think I'm making myself quite clear. We're getting divorced. What's so unclear or supernatural about that? What do you mean, what's unclear? You had fun with some woman, and now you're leaving me? For a fling? It's not a fling. The man sat back down. Carolina, I love someone else. What about those words don't you understand? I'm telling you honestly instead of letting it get to the point where you'll be hysterically smashing dishes and blaming me for everything. It happens. People stop being happy together. I'm tired of you. Sorry, but that's the truth. Or do you suggest we keep this marriage alive at any cost? Paula is expecting a child, and I want to be with them, not with you. Carolina turned pale as a sheet. A child, she sneered inwardly. So that's it. Here we go again. I knew sooner or later it would come to this. Carolina, listen to me. Nicholas touched his wife's hand, but she immediately pulled it away. Don't you dare touch me. She jumped up, knocking over her teacup. That was fast. Well done. And now I'm no longer needed. Is that it? Carolina, be reasonable. I'm not leaving you just because of the child, though you know how important that is to me. It's about something else. I don't want us both to suffer endlessly sorting things out. What's the point of living together if there are no feelings left? You wouldn't like me splitting myself between two families. I don't want you splitting yourself. I want you. Nicholas, don't you understand? I gave you the best years of my life, and you. Don't start. What's the point of these cliches? What best years did you give me? Things between us were far from perfect. Yes, I was wrong to cheat, but at least I admitted it honestly. As for the rest, didn't you notice our relationship had hit a dead end? You're always dissatisfied, demanding something unclear. You shut yourself off and don't even try to talk. Any normal man would get tired of that. Paula is different. She says things openly and doesn't hold back her feelings. Oh, I noticed, Carolina sneered. So much so that she wasted no time getting pregnant and roping you in. Quite a catch, aren't you? And who cares that you already have a wife? You knew perfectly well that I can't have children. Of course, it wasn't you who had to suffer, running from doctor to doctor. And I paid for all that, her husband shouted. Don't forget, I was in that carousel too. 5 times. 5 damn IVF attempts. Carolina, just accept it already. You will never have children. Yes, I'm a bastard in your eyes. But I need an heir. I want to continue my family line. And you knew that very well when you married me. Don't forget you trapped me by claiming you were pregnant. I wouldn't have even married you otherwise. Oh, really? So all these years you were just lying to me about your so-called sincere feelings? It's not my fault I had a miscarriage. You have no right to accuse me of deception. And by the way, if it hadn't been for that trip you insisted on, I would have been able to carry the child to term. Don't start blaming anyone, Carolina. Nicholas slammed his fist on the table. That's it. I told you, the only thing left is divorce. I'm grateful for the years you spent with me, but that's over. From today, nothing ties us together anymore. Where are you going? Carolina cried out in fear as her husband got up from the table and headed for the door. To Paula, he waved her off. There's nothing for me here anymore. Calm down, stay by yourself. Think it over, and then we'll talk peacefully. About the apartment, Carolina suddenly froze. What about the apartment? The man turned back. Well, if we're divorcing, then we'll have to sell it and split the money, right? Why would we? Nicholas glared at her from under his brow. You don't seem to know the law very well. That apartment is mine. I inherited it from my father. Inheritances aren't divided in a divorce. You can claim half the car, if you like. I'll even give you the whole thing if you want. I won't go broke. And of course I'll give you some money at first. At first? Nicholas, are you serious right now? Where am I supposed to live? You know perfectly well I have nowhere to go. I sold my mother's apartment after the wedding to give you money for your business. You'd have achieved nothing without me. You can sue me if you want. Just keep in mind it'll drag on forever. I never gave you any receipt. At this point, it's impossible to prove which money exactly was used to start the business. Legally, it's an LLC, and I'm the sole founder, and my contribution was much bigger than yours. You're leaving me without means to survive? Carolina turned pale. Nicholas, that's unfair. I quit my job for you and devoted myself to our home. So what's the problem with finding work now? Who's going to hire me? I've been out of the workforce for 10 years. Carolina, I'm not your nanny or your sponsor. Like I said, I'll help you for a while if necessary. I'll rent you an apartment or a room until you get on your feet. But keep in mind 3 months at most. Otherwise, you'll just keep pulling money out of me. What are you talking about? The woman screamed. You're literally throwing me out onto the street. Do you think I won't find a way to deal with you? The fact is, you've stripped me to the bone, and now you're keeping everything for yourself. I didn't strip you of anything. Yes, I could have taken a loan back then, but you insisted, so don't start blaming me now. And don't forget that all these years you lived like a queen. What stopped you from doing something on your own, from earning your own money? You chose to sit at home, didn't you? I never refused you anything. And how much did we spend on your IVF procedures? That cost more than any apartment. That was for both of us. Why are you even dividing things into yours and mine? We're a family. We were a family, Carolina, Nicholas sighed wearily. That's it, there's nothing more to talk about. If you want, hire lawyers if you can afford it. But no court will rule in your favor by law. You'd better think about your future employment while you still have time. Nicholas walked out of the kitchen, and a couple of minutes later Carolina heard the front door slam. Carolina? The voice on the phone was dry, like January air. Yes? This is the notary. My name is Leonardo. Is this a convenient time to talk? Yes, of course. What is this about? The woman asked in surprise. How are you related to Ramirez Rosa? Aunt Rosa, Carolina froze. Well, she was a distant relative, my mother's aunt, but I haven't seen her in 20 years. What happened? Your relative passed away some time ago. What? I didn't know. Carolina collapsed into a chair. We never really kept in touch. After my mother died, I didn't hear anything about her at all, to be honest. If you need money for the funeral, I'm afraid I can't help. I'm in a difficult situation myself right now. My husband and I are divorcing, and... No, the notary interrupted her. You misunderstood. Rosa passed away 6 months ago. I'm calling about another matter. And what matter would that be? The fact is, according to Ramirez's will, you are the sole heir. That's why I'm calling. Can you come today for the reading? What? Carolina was stunned. But that must be some mistake. Why would Aunt Rosa leave me anything? I thought she had a son. Ramirez has no surviving relatives. And besides, she wrote her will in your name. I'm sorry, but I can't know anything about Rosa's personal motives. I am only carrying out her last will. And what exactly did she leave me? Carolina asked eagerly. If you come, I'll explain everything in detail. This isn't something to discuss over the phone. Please bring your passport with you. All right, give me the address. An hour and a half later, Carolina was standing in front of the staircase leading up to the notary's office. It was an unremarkable door on the ground floor of a tall apartment block. Well, imagine that, the woman thought. Who would have guessed that my aunt would leave me something? We hardly ever talked. I only remember visiting her once with my mother. It was some remote village. Her house stood right by the forest, and she even had a cow. Could it be she left me that shack? Oh, I just hope there aren't any debts. Still, even a house in the middle of nowhere could be sold, even if not for much. And right now, any money would help. Carolina climbed the stairs and pressed the doorbell. A melodic chime sounded, something clicked, and she stepped into a brightly lit reception area. Hello, she nodded to the woman behind a large desk. I have an appointment with Leonardo Hernandez, Carolina. One moment, the secretary replied without taking her eyes off the screen. She pressed a button on the intercom. Leonardo, Hernandez is here to see you. Send her in. Carolina's heart thudded dully inside her chest. An odd, restless anxiety rose up from nowhere. For a fleeting moment, she even wanted to turn around and leave. Go ahead, the secretary said, pushing open the heavy door. Good evening, Carolina greeted the notary shyly. Hello, Leonardo cut her off. Carolina, I'm sorry, I need to leave soon, so let's not waste time. Documents, signature. All right. The notary pulled a slim folder from his desk and began reading aloud. Carolina listened attentively, but barely understood a word. Excuse me, she said timidly when Leonardo finished, I don't know much about legal terms. Could you explain it briefly in simple words? I'll study everything carefully later. Of course, the man smiled faintly. In short, all of your aunt's movable and immovable property passes to you by inheritance. Specifically, a residential house, 7 hectares of land, machinery, and everything located on the estate. Here are all the documents, land registry extracts, ownership certificates, and so on. And Aunt Rosa didn't have any debts? No, not at all, don't worry. I would have known about that. Just sign here. From this moment, all assets officially pass into your ownership. You have 30 calendar days to re-register the documents. If you don't want to handle it yourself, I can do it for a modest fee. Thank you, Carolina smiled. I think I can manage myself. I have plenty of free time anyway. Then all the best. You can call me anytime if you have questions. Yes, of course. Goodbye. Carolina said her farewells and stepped out into the street, carrying the thin black folder in her hands. She wanted to get home quickly after all. The divorce hearing was scheduled for tomorrow. As soon as she walked into the apartment, the phone rang. Carolina, hi. Nicholas greeted her wearily. So, are you ready? If you mean my things, then almost, the woman sighed in annoyance. And did you already find me an apartment? Tomorrow we're getting divorced, and as I understand it, I'll have to vacate the place. There you go again, sounding so doomed. Carolina, you're not a child anymore, it's time to learn independence. I'm not kicking you out the very same day. What about work? I went to an interview the day before yesterday, they promised to call me back. I see, Nicholas smirked. So you're still cherry-picking by specialty. What, you want me to work as a cashier at the nearest supermarket? Well, why not? Work is work. The important thing is to get paid. And by the way, a supermarket isn't such a bad option. Yeah, right, I'd also have to handle goods and haul heavy boxes to the shelves. You're such a jerk, Nicholas. Watch the insults. And I suggest you broaden your job search. A factory would take you even without experience. They'll train you. Actually, I could recommend you to Morales. He's always in need of workers. To Morales? Carolina cried hysterically. But he runs a cleaning company. You want me to work as a cleaning lady? Have you lost all shame? What's wrong with that? Nicholas asked in surprise. By the way, the salary at his firm is twice the regional average. Sure, it's not easy work, but you're used to living in comfort. Comfort? Don't make me laugh, the woman pouted petulantly. I see what this is. You just want to humiliate me even more. No one's trying to humiliate you. I just don't understand what it is you want. I found you an apartment 1 bedroom in a residential district, pretty comfortable. I'll pay the rent for 6 months, not just 3 like I said before. But after that, you're on your own. I can't support you forever, especially with a baby on the way. I don't need your help, choke on it. Besides, I received an inheritance today, Carolina blurted out emotionally. What? Her husband was taken aback. An inheritance? Did some rich uncle of yours in America die? No, the woman answered shyly. Just an aunt. Do you remember Aunt Rosa from San Martin? I used to tell you about her often. As a teenager, I spent summers there. Right. Well, it turns out she left me her entire estate in her will. And San Martin? What, that village house? Her husband even laughed. And you're planning to move there permanently? Maybe I am, Carolina snapped angrily. What's it to you? I'll leave, and you'll never see me again. Not bad, Nicholas chuckled. Farming is definitely your thing. I can only imagine what kind of shack your aunt had. Living in the countryside, Carolina, is not as easy as you think. You've never been used to real work anyway. Do you even know how to hold a shovel? Exactly. And now you think you'll live in a village? What a joke. Oh, go to hell, Nicholas. Where to? The man laughed. I'd love to see you plowing a vegetable garden. You'd be better off fixing your life here while you still can, instead of dreaming about some rustic idol. Sell that shack and stop playing games. So, should I talk to Morales or not? Leave me alone. You go work for Morales yourself. If I have to, I'll learn to use a shovel and an axe. Besides, there's a lot of land I can even rent some out. Oh sure, I'm sure there'll be a line of eager tenants. You're ridiculous, Nicholas kept laughing. You won't even hold a mop, but you're beating your chest about managing a farm. Have you ever milked a cow? Hillied potatoes? Kept a stove going? I'll learn. And you just roll off with your Paula. Don't push your luck. Carolina. The woman didn't bother listening any further and ended the call. Nicholas tried ringing a few more times, but soon gave up, sending only a message reminding her of the time of the court hearing. To hell with all of them. Carolina cursed under her breath. Now I'll prove him wrong just out of spite. I'll move to that village. I'll learn everything. At least I'll have a roof over my head. Besides, country living is all the rage now. Sure, it'll be hard, but at least I won't depend on anyone. Aunt Rosa didn't leave me all this for nothing. Only God knows why she did it. But she managed there herself. From what I know, her husband died before I was even born. She got by alone somehow. And there's fresh air too. Well then, no turning back. The bus hummed quietly over the blistering asphalt. It was a hot May day. The farther Carolina moved away from the city, the faster her heart raced. The divorce was behind her. She had flatly rejected her ex-husband's offers of work and partial support for housing. No matter how Nicholas tried to convince her not to make a mistake, she stubbornly stood her ground. Early in the morning, she had packed a large bag with the essentials and headed for the station. She had sold all her jewelry and expensive clothes to have some money for the start. Now all that was left was to see her aunt's estate in person and understand just how much work awaited. The landscapes outside the window grew more and more familiar. Carolina hadn't been here in over 20 years. Watching the black, freshly plowed fields and the dark green of the groves, she remembered how she and her mother used to take the same bus, heading out to fresh air, the warm river, endless potato fields, the fragrant hayloft, and the ginger mutt that never stopped wagging its tail. Jumping down from the bus onto the dusty roadside, Carolina clumsily dragged her heavy bag down and looked around. The dirt road stretched into the fields, and only in the distance could she see the roofs of scattered houses on the horizon. Good grief, she sighed. That's a long walk, especially with all this luggage. As I recall, Aunt Rosa's house was the farthest one, right by the forest. And I'll have to climb a hill to get there. I'll just about make it by evening. Well, nothing to do about it. Taking a deep breath, Carolina hoisted the heavy bundle onto her shoulder and, bent under its weight, slowly trudged across the field. Why couldn't they build the highway closer to the village? She grumbled to herself. No one ever comes here empty-handed. What kind of test is this? It feels like the village itself is greeting me with a challenge, hinting that I don't belong and that this life is too much for me. Never mind. I'll manage. Why am I even whining? Can't carry a bag? Nicholas was right, the real work will be even harder. So I'll just count this as training. After about a kilometer, drenched in sweat, Carolina was already cursing everything in the world. By now, her ex-husband's warnings about moving into the backwoods didn't sound so foolish. She was beginning to regret not agreeing to his terms. Right now, she could have been calmly scrubbing floors in some office or apartment, polishing windows, and then heading to a tiny flat on the outskirts to cook a simple dinner. I'm so thirsty, it's awful, she thought. Why am I such an idiot? Dragging this useless bag, and I didn't even bring a bottle of water. The heat is unbearable. It's nearly noon already. If only I could find a well. I remember there was an old one by the bridge. We used to go there with buckets. Maybe it's still there? I just have to push myself a little further. The river isn't far. The field gradually gave way to thick vegetation. Carolina greedily inhaled the scent of meadow flowers, already in full bloom and buzzing with bees and bumblebees. Then the bridge came into view. Exhausted from hauling her heavy bag under the blazing sun, she scanned the riverbank, searching for the old well. But no luck, there was nothing. Dropping her bag onto the ground, she sat down on it. The sun beat down mercilessly. Her back and face itched from sweat, her body completely drained of moisture, now seeping out onto the surface. Suddenly, she heard a rattling sound. Carolina tensed and listened closely. A tractor. Or maybe a car, she said with relief. Thank God. Maybe I can get a ride. Or at least some water. Spotting a blue cab in the distance, she began waving frantically. Hey, over here, she shouted. Come this way. The sound grew louder, filling the air with deafening rumble and clatter. Soon Carolina could make out not only the cab but also the tractor driver. Finally, he pulled up beside the woman, flailing her arms next to her bag. Hello, Carolina tried to shout over the roar of the engine. "Excuse me, could you help me?" The young man in the cab, his cap tipped sideways, spat a cigarette butt onto the road and killed the engine. "What's the matter? Lost your way?" He smirked. "You're not from around here, that's obvious. Sorry to bother you, but could you give me a lift to the village? I can pay." "Ha, city girl," the guy laughed. "Says she'll pay. Well, hop in, if you don't mind the ride." "Whoa, that's some heavy suitcase you've got there. You visiting someone, or what?" "I'm moving here," Carolina smiled. "Moving?" The man jumped down from the cab. "From the village to the city, that's normal. But from the city to the village? What for?" "I inherited a place from my aunt. She used to live here. I used to visit her often as a kid, but it's been a long time." "I see," the guy smiled, hoisting her bag into the tractor cab. "What a load. How did you drag this all the way from the bus stop?" "Well, somehow," Carolina shrugged apologetically. "I'm Esteban. Can you climb up yourself, or should I give you a hand?" "I'll try myself. I'm Carolina." "Pretty name. So where exactly are we going, Carolina?" "Maybe you know the farthest house, the one near the forest? That's where Rosa Ramirez lived. I'm her grandniece." "Well, I'll be." Esteban's mouth fell open. "Aunt Rosa's niece, huh? Of course I know that house. I helped build it myself." "Build it?" Carolina thought. "But it's just an old log hut." He must mean he helped repair it. Maybe built the bathhouse or some outbuildings. Still, that's encouraging. At least it's not a complete ruin. "I'm so glad I ran into you. Otherwise I'd still be dragging myself there until nightfall." She smiled at her rescuer. "Do you happen to have any water? I'm absolutely dying of thirst." "Here, have some. It's warm already, but spring water." Esteban pulled a crumpled plastic bottle from under his feet. Carolina pressed her lips to the opening and tilted her head back greedily. The water was warm from the sun, but it still tasted fresh. She could have sworn she had never drunk anything better in her life. "Thank you," she breathed after quenching her thirst. "I thought I was going to die." "So, have you lived here all your life?" "Yeah," Esteban lit a cigarette. "Lost my parents, though. Mother passed 3 years ago, and my father this March. I'm not planning to leave. Why would I? I've got work, I don't drink. It's only the drunks and loafers who can't stand it here. They wander around begging. But if you've got hands and a head, it doesn't matter if it's the city, the village, or the North Pole, you'll get by." "Are there many people left in the village?" "Nah, hardly. Most run off. Though your Aunt Rosa did a lot to revive the place. But once she passed last autumn, everything started falling apart again." "Really?" Carolina was surprised. "How so?" "Don't you know?" The man gave her a sharp look. "I told you, I haven't been in touch for 20 years. So how old are you?" "It's impolite to ask a lady's age," Carolina pouted. "What's so impolite? I'm just curious. I don't care for your city manners. Here everything's simple, Carolina. You've got to be honest with others and with yourself. Then anything you do will succeed. Remember that, it'll come in handy." "Honest with myself? What do you mean? I don't think I lie to myself." "That's what everyone thinks." Esteban flicked his cigarette butt out the window. "But in the end they're just fooling themselves. That's why they start drinking, slip into poverty, or turn their noses up and won't mix with simple folk. And you're lying to yourself right now. Why did you really come here? It's obvious you don't have the faintest idea about village life." "I want to start a new life," Carolina sighed. "A new one? What was so wrong with the old one? Are you running from something, or from someone?" "From myself, maybe. I divorced my husband last month. Basically ended up on the street. I never worked. Everything was." "So what then?" Esteban smirked. "You've never worked anywhere. What makes you think you can handle things here? In the village, you need to use both your hands and your head. Slacking off won't cut it, especially with your Aunt Rosa's farm. That's why I want to try. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back. Well, not that I really have anywhere to go, but still, it'll work out if you want it to. The main thing is willpower. Me, I'd never trade San Martin for anything. This is my home, my soul. And I've got work here. Though I do wish I worked for myself, not for them." "Them?" "There's this agrivolding that's been buying up land aggressively. They've had their eye on your place for a while. 7 hectares, maybe more. My direct boss was after your house, too. He pestered your aunt endlessly, offered her everything he could think of, but she never gave in." "What kind of house is it, really?" "I just remember the land was beautiful, with pine trees nearby. Every morning I'd go for a walk in the woods after waking up. And there was a little pond. But honestly, if they offer a good price, I'm open to selling. Ah, you're foolish. Your aunt gave her life to that land, and you just hand it over to some capitalists. Don't you realize? That's protected territory. If you manage it properly, it could bring you more money than any businessman would ever pay. Oh, come on, what's so special about it? As far as I remember, it was just an ordinary hut. Big, yes, in a beautiful spot, but still in the middle of nowhere. It took me 3.5 hours by bus. It's not about the time. Anyway, we're almost there. Carolina squinted into the distance, trying to spot her aunt's old house. But she didn't recognize a thing. She'd completely lost her bearings. The tractor rattled up the clay road, confidently climbing the hill. As soon as they reached the top, Carolina saw a tall stone fence, half hidden in blooming apple trees. Well, here we are. Esteban cut the engine. Where? The woman looked at him in surprise. What do you mean, where? Your house. But this is a completely different place. The fence is different, and I don't remember these apple trees at all. Carolina stared at the gray stone wall, the massive wrought iron gates, and the paved path leading beyond them. Somewhere deep in the garden she caught sight of a bright tiled roof. You said yourself you haven't been here in years. Esteban jumped down from the tractor and hauled her heavy bag after him. My mother helped your aunt plant those apple trees about 20 years ago. I even planted a couple myself. And the house that was started 15 years back. I earned good money then. We spent 2 years building all this beauty. Everyone loved Aunt Rosa. She gave us work, paid well, and was always ready to help. Carolina pulled a bundle of keys from her bag, the ones the notary had given her, and walked up to the gates. With a large carved key she unlocked the lock and pushed open the heavy door. The sight before her left her in shock. A wide paved path cut across a spacious lawn and disappeared into the garden, leading straight to the porch of a tall log house. The building looked majestic, almost solemn. This was nothing like the hut Carolina remembered from childhood. Massive dark red logs rose into a 2-story mansion with a large mezzanine. The dark window frames were partly shuttered, but even they couldn't conceal its grandeur. Unbelievable, the woman breathed. It's like a real palace. But how? Where did Aunt Rosa get the money? To build something like this, you'd need a fortune. I was expecting a crooked old hut, and here. Seems like you didn't know your aunt very well, Esteban sighed, hoisting the bag onto his shoulder to carry it inside. Didn't you know who her son was? Or what she herself was doing? Juan. I never spoke with him, and my mother hardly kept in touch either. As for Aunt Rosa, I thought she was like everyone else, a cow, a vegetable patch. Not like everyone else at all, Esteban smiled. Rosa was a rare kind of woman. She had this special energy. Whatever she touched turned into profit. And Juan, well, he married very well. Moved to the city, went into business, something with hotels. My father knew him quite well, though I never paid much attention. He's the one who built all this for his mother. Figured the land shouldn't go to waste, so he set up a holiday resort. Behind the house, near the pond, there are guest cottages, little triangular ones. And Rosa turned out to be a gifted entrepreneur. She built a real tourist spot here. Ecotourism, I think it's called. People even came from other regions. Mushrooms, maybe? Did she go into the forest to pick them? I've heard collectors can earn pretty well in a season. I read about it once online. But she was such a frail old woman, I doubt she could have gathered even 100 kilos. No, Carolina, not like that. See that building over there? Esteban pointed to a hangar at the far end of the property. Yes? That's where your aunt had a whole mushroom farm. Oyster mushrooms, champignons, reishi, even all kinds of exotic ones. Of course, she didn't turn up her nose at wild ones either. Her son set up refrigeration units and dryers for her. She'd buy mushrooms from pickers all over the region, then resell them. Porcini, birch boletes, honey mushrooms, chanterelles. These lands are rich. Mushrooms sprout here in waves every year. Sure, Aunt Rosa was old, but her mind was sharp. And don't forget cranberries and lingonberries. She made the most out of her location. And you, if you wanted, could continue her work. Right now the warehouses and freezers are just sitting idle, but it could be a great income. And you'd help revive the village. Around here, most people survive hand to mouth. The agriholding does buy mushrooms and berries, but for peanuts, always nitpicking. And not everyone has the option to haul produce to neighboring villages or towns. That's only if you've got a car. So folks sell everything cheap. So Aunt Rosa didn't keep livestock or a vegetable garden at all? Carolina asked in surprise. Why would she? Esteban smirked. Anyone around here would gladly bring her milk, vegetables, meat. And where did she sell all those mushrooms? I mean, I might even take it up, but I don't know a thing about it. Oh, don't be silly. Buying mushrooms isn't rocket science. Growing them yourself is harder, sure, but anyone can learn if they're not a complete fool. Besides, Mercedes was still sharp. She used to be the head agronomist until retirement, then Rosa brought her in as a manager. She's over 70 now, but her mind's sharp and her health is strong, enviably so. The only problem is, she drinks. At that age? What's so surprising? Around here, few people stay away from the bottle. After Rosa died, Mercedes just went to pieces. You see, she wasn't working for the money, but for the idea. Old school type. And besides, they were close friends. By the way, this woman used to be a near-famous mycologist almost nationwide. Then after the crisis, she ended up here in the village. So when it comes to mushrooms, she knows more than most. But yes, she's a hard drinker. I think I remember. Mercedes, Carolina frowned. Wouldn't be Cortez, by any chance? That's the one, Esteban spat to the side. So you know her? Yes, but I doubt she remembers me. It's been so many years. Don't be so sure. Her memory's excellent. Thank God she hasn't had any dementia, even if she does go on drinking binges sometimes. That's awful. Where does she live? Right down the hill. We passed her house on the way, the long one with the slate roof. You take your time here, look around. I'll go check on Mercedes, see how she's doing. By the way, need me to bring any groceries? If so, just call. You've got electricity here, plumbing too. Heating's wood burning, but there should be plenty of firewood. Rest for now, you must be tired after the road. I've got more work to do anyway, already lingered too long with you. I'll stop by this evening. All right, Carolina smiled. Thank you, Esteban. I'm honestly in shock. I need to process all of this somehow. The young man lifted the brim of his cap, waved, and disappeared through the gate. A few seconds later, the tractor engine roared to life and rumbled away. My God! Carolina stared at the house in bewilderment. Who would have thought? Well, I'll unpack my things and have a look around. She found the key to the front door and stepped inside. A spacious, dimly lit hall opened before her. The house smelled of wood and herbs. Kicking off her shoes, Carolina began exploring the rooms. The furniture was covered with sheets, but overall the place didn't look abandoned or neglected. The interior was simple, yet tasteful. The pleasant coolness sobered her a little. Here, Carolina suddenly felt at home. Colorful woven rugs lay scattered about, and simple rural landscapes hung on the walls. After finishing her tour of the house, she went outside to examine the outbuildings. Most of them were locked, and none of the keys on her ring fit. That's all right, I'll sort it out later, she sighed, making her way to the far side of the property, where the pond lay. Clustered around the water were small triangular cabins. Carolina counted 8 in total. They must have been for tourists. Well, this is actually quite cozy and picturesque. I'd happily stay somewhere like this myself. The only problem is, I can't imagine running all of this alone. Definitely not on my own. But Esteban said he'd help. I'll also need money to hire workers. All right, I'll think about that later. She walked to the edge of the property and laid her hand against an enormous century-old pine. Immediately she felt a pleasant warmth seeping from the rough bark. The rich scent of resin and needles filled her lungs. What beauty! Carolina exhaled with joy. I never even thought it was possible to live comfortably outside the city. Aunt really did me a favor, as if she knew my life was heading for a crisis. Back inside, she flung open all the shutters and windows to let in the light and fresh air. In the kitchen, she discovered a locked door. After fiddling with the lock for a bit, she managed to open it. What she saw left her stunned. The shelves were lined with rows of homemade preserves and canned goods. It had been only a little over half a year since Aunt Rosa passed away, so everything was still in good condition. Carolina grabbed a jar of pickled cucumbers and a tin of stewed meat. She also found bags of pasta. Feeling ravenously hungry, she headed into the kitchen to prepare herself a meal. Hey, mistress, you home? A dry, raspy voice called from outside. Carolina, who had dozed off after cleaning, hadn't even noticed that night had already fallen. Who's there? She peeked out the window. Right in front of the house stood a tall old woman wrapped in a colorful kerchief. Don't recognize me? The visitor cackled. Mercedes, Carolina exclaimed in surprise, squinting to get a better look at the old woman. That's right, and look at you all grown up. Esteban told me you're the mistress here now. I couldn't believe it. Though Rosa did say she wanted to leave everything to you, I thought you'd never set foot in our backwoods. Guilty as charged, Carolina smiled. Why are you standing out there? Come in, let's have some coffee. Why not? though I'd prefer something stronger, but coffee will do." Shuffling along the paving stones in worn-out slippers, the old woman made her way to the door, and a minute later was sitting in the kitchen. "Well, surprised?" She winked at Carolina as she sat down. "That's an understatement." The hostess chuckled. "I haven't been here in 25 years. I never thought Aunt Rosa had built an entire estate." "Ah, may she rest in peace," the old woman sighed. "What a remarkable woman she was. But hearts don't last forever, especially not with all the work and plans she burdened herself with. I barely managed myself. While Rosa was around, I somehow had the energy, but once she was gone, I just deflated. It happens like a rusty engine seizing up." "Esteban told me you helped her a lot," Carolina said, pouring coffee into the cups. "I did," Mercedes nodded. "It was I who talked her into going into mushrooms. At first we didn't think much of it, but Rosa had connections everywhere. Slowly the business took off. In 5 years we grew to tens of tons, and then we didn't even know where to put all the money. Rosa really turned this place into a resort." "For tourists?" Carolina asked. No, the old woman waved her hand. "Tourists were just for fun. You can't make much off them. Besides, Rosa treated them like honored guests, full board and all. That was more for the soul, so she wouldn't get bored. If you're thinking of reviving that tourist business, don't count on it. Mushrooms, that's where the real money is. The resort was Rosa's gift to the locals. Think about it. People would rush into the forest to pick porcini and red-capped boletes. Rosa bought everything and paid well. That scoundrel Andres pays half at best. The new season will start at the end of summer, and the locals will feel the difference immediately. They already did last year. Rosa died right in the middle of the picking season, and he swooped right in. And where else could people sell their harvest? So they sold almost everything to him. He was glad to profit. A rotten man, greedy as they come. But it's hard to blame him entirely. At least he gives the villagers some kind of work. Better than drinking themselves into the grave and letting their farms fall apart." "That's the owner of the agri-holding where Esteban works?" Carolina asked. "The very one," Mercedes laughed bitterly. "Girl, he'll come to you too. He begged Rosa countless times to sell him everything, and once she passed, he started sniffing around for heirs. Let me warn you right away, think 1,000 times before agreeing to anything. He'll enslave people here, if he hasn't already. Better you dig into the business yourself and slowly revive what Rosa spent years building. I don't know why you came for money, for peace, for work, but you'll find all of it here in abundance. Think about the people. Rosa gave San Martin a chance to survive. Many gave up the idea of leaving. A new school was built, the church restored, and just last year a good paramedic arrived. Now I fear all of that will fall apart without Rosa. But I don't understand anything about this business," Carolina frowned. "Honestly, I never imagined I'd find something like this here. I thought I was coming to an old hut." "Learn," the old woman interrupted. "The people here are good, they all want work. And they can't stand Andres. He's a tyrant, through and through. If you need it, I'll teach you everything. With wild mushrooms, you don't even need to learn much. All of Rosa's workers are ready to get back to it any time. They'll fill the dryers and the freezers for you. As for cultivated mushrooms, that's harder without experience, but I'm still in my right mind. I'll help." "Yes, but preparing everything is one thing. Who would I sell it to? I don't know the first thing about commerce." "Seems like you're used to pitying yourself, girl." Mercedes looked at her slyly. "That habit, drop it immediately. Here you'll quickly find out what you're really worth, as long as you don't get lazy. If you're afraid of wolves, don't go into the forest. If you've already got a pessimistic outlook, then you'd best just agree with Andres. Trust me. He'll come running to you tomorrow to strike a deal. It's your choice, not just an old woman's request. But if you don't bow to him and instead prove yourself a worthy heir to Rosa, you'll soon realize that living with honor feels good, and kindness will return to you 100-fold. Think about the people. Yes, they're strangers to you now, but that's because you're a stranger to them. Become one of their own, and you'll see how the world changes. So why did you even come here? Just to look, or what?" "No," Carolina shook her head. "I thought I'd stay for good, even without knowing what awaited me. I divorced my husband, he found another woman. I had nowhere else to go, so moving here was my only option. All the more reason," the old woman stood up from her chair, "you can change your life completely here. San Martin is a good place, beautiful and soulful. I mean both the nature and the people." Carolina walked her guest to the gate. "Thank you for the coffee, girl," the old woman smiled, flashing her golden teeth. Think about it. Morning is wiser than evening." When Mercedes's thin figure had nearly vanished into the darkness, Carolina suddenly jerked forward and ran after her. Mercedes! Mercedes! She caught up with her aunt's former manager. I agree. My mother always told me to make decisions quickly, but I never listened. I was afraid of responsibility all my life. But after our talk, something inside me clicked. I feel good here. I don't want to leave, even though I've only been here a day. I feel this is my place. I've never felt so calm anywhere else. Let's revive Aunt's business. Let's do it. Well, aren't you quick? The old woman laughed. I like that attitude. Rosa was quick too. All right then, get a good night's sleep, and I'll come in the morning. I won't even drink tonight, not a drop, I swear. Esteban probably told you I'm a hopeless drunk. What does he know? When Rosa died, I just tried to drown my grief for her, for myself. But if you're not joking and really mean to take all this on, then I'll find the strength in me again. Good night, Mercedes. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow. Carolina. Mercedes banged on the door with her fist. Still sleeping? At the doorway appeared the drowsy hostess, trying to untangle her tousled hair with her fingers. Mercedes, why so early? She yawned. What did you expect? The old woman croaked. Carolina winced, then suddenly noticed that her guest looked different today. Her shoulders were squared, her eyes sparkled, and overall she seemed younger. Don't you know the saying, the early bird gets the worm? In the city you're used to waking up at noon. Here, you'd better get rid of that habit. True, you won't have to milk a cow, but there's plenty of other work. All right, come inside, I'll wash up quickly. When Carolina was ready, she found the old woman sitting in one of the gazebos near the guest cottages. I brought the keys, she jingled a heavy bunch. These are for the storage sheds and the farm. Ah, the woman brightened, just in time, I couldn't open anything yesterday. Rosa gave them to me before she passed away. I was with her until her very last breath. Oh, what sorrow. Anyway, come on, I'll show you everything. The old woman rose from the bench and led Carolina to a large barn. Inside it was dark, smelling of damp and sawdust. She felt for a switch, and the space lit up with bright white light. The entire hall was packed with jars, containers, crates. Long lamps hung above each shelf. Here we cultivated commercial mushroom varieties, the old woman explained, sweeping her eyes across the hangar. Oyster mushrooms are the easiest, and they sell well. Champignons are trickier, the substrate needs special handling. We also grew shiitake, reishi, enoki. And where did it all go? Carolina examined the shelves. These spaces are huge. Clearly, there was demand. Not was, but is, Mercedes wagged her finger. You can't imagine how eagerly supermarkets and restaurants buy this stuff, especially the Asian kinds. I'll tell you straight, the supply network is already in place. But you'll need to re-register everything under your name, which means some travel. I'm too old for that, but I'll give you all the contacts. These buyers are already waiting for harvest. And how long does it take to grow? And how do you even do it? Oh, it's not complicated, though mushrooms can be finicky. Rosa made sure everything was set up. Just the equipment here for humidity and temperature control cost hundreds of thousands. It's fully automated, but you'll still need to manage the zoning of crops yourself. Some need light, others can't stand it. I'll show you. You prepare the substrate, seed it with mycelium, create the right conditions, and wait. Each type is different. On average, about 3 to 4 weeks. That fast? Carolina was amazed. So if we plant everything right now, we could get several harvests over the summer? Exactly. Only we can't start right this moment. We need the right substrate. That means sawdust, rice, soy. We'll sort it out. And we'll need mycelium. Rosa always kept some preserved, but last year she didn't manage it. Worst case, we'll have to buy new. Is that expensive? Carolina asked nervously. Because I don't have much money and... Money? Don't worry about that. Rosa left almost everything to me. She always kept cash hidden, afraid of theft and not trusting banks. There's enough to cover supplies and everything else. But she left it to you. In the will there was no word about money, only the estate, Carolina protested. Girl, the old woman fixed her with a stern look, I know. But what do I need so much for? To drink it away? That wouldn't be my money, but Rosa's. Yes, we worked together, but she paid me for it. I don't want what isn't mine. I'm old. What would I even do with it? Don't worry, it's meant for you. It's amazing. People are ready to tear each other's throats out over pennies, and here you are, just giving it all to me. First of all, I'll repeat myself, the money isn't rightfully mine. Second, if you chase only money and forget everything else, before you know it, your millions will have ruined countless lives and you'll already be lying in a wooden box where all those bills mean nothing. You need to live in the present, looking toward the future, not endlessly hoarding or drowning in material wealth. Our brains were given to us so we could grow, develop, try to make this world better, not to hang ourselves with jewelry, speed around in expensive cars, and betray others in pursuit of big money. Do you understand? I understand, Carolina sighed. That's exactly what I used to do. I thought everything in the world revolved around money. Not everything, but much. Money isn't a goal, it's only a tool for reaching one. If you have a real goal, a worthy one, you'll do everything to achieve it. And money will follow, that's a law, proven time and again. But if your goal is something petty, then don't expect any fortune. God sees everything, even if it sometimes feels like he doesn't. You know, not once in all the years I knew Rosa did I ever doubt her words or actions. She couldn't help but do good. If you can make just a couple of people happy, you've already changed a lot. Rosa brought joy to the whole district. For some, that meant money. For others, deliverance from drinking, the chance to build a home, or to find steady work, even a calling, like in my case. You can do the same, if only you believe in yourself. That's where it all begins. And never be afraid of difficulties. All right, Carolina smiled broadly. Inside, she had already made up her mind. Together with Mercedes, who had gathered several other workers, Carolina managed to fill the hangar with blocks ready for mushroom cultivation. Now all that remained was to wait. 2 weeks passed as she settled into her new life. She got acquainted with the villagers, and in Esteban and Mercedes she had found true allies. She even managed to put out an ad for renting the tourist guest cottages just in time for summer season. That was when Andres showed up. He was a stout man in his 50s, constantly twirling his mustache and fiddling with an expensive phone. So, I was wondering who had moved in here, he greeted Carolina. I was driving by, saw all the work going on. You're related to Rosa, are you? Let's suppose. The woman narrowed her eyes, trying to shake off the greasy stare of this unpleasant man. Oh, why so unfriendly? He smirked. Carolina, if I'm not mistaken? And you must be Andres? She squinted at him. I see you've already heard everything about me and then some. The locals don't care for me much. Yet, I'm the one giving them jobs. Excuse me, are you here for something specific, or just passing by? Carolina asked nervously. I've got plenty to do. I'd rather not be distracted. Businesslike, aren't you? The man sized her up. I like that. Actually, I came to talk about buying this property. With the previous owner, sadly, I never managed to close the deal. You understand why? No, I don't understand. As far as I know, Aunt Rosa never intended to sell to you, even though you offered her good money. And I'm not going to sell either. My plan is to continue my late relative's work. Oh really? Sounds like more of those village rumors. Sorry to disappoint you. You've been misinformed. Rosa and I were in active negotiations. The only question left was the price. And then she passed away, and I couldn't track down her heirs. Her son Juan has been gone a long time too. In any case, I'm not selling you anything, even if you were negotiating. This land and house now belong to me, which means all previous arrangements are void. I'll have to ask you to leave my property. I have work to do. Even if we're talking about a sum like this? Andres handed Carolina a piece of paper. She let out a low whistle in surprise. The man was offering a fortune, more than enough to buy a nice apartment in the city and live comfortably for the rest of her life. After hesitating, Carolina handed the paper back. Sorry, I'm not interested, she said firmly. The faces of Mercedes and the other villagers flashed before her eyes, people she had already given hope to with her big plans. Well then, I tried being reasonable. Keep in mind, Carolina, the man smirked, no one will bring you mushrooms. Almost all these people work for me. They depend on me. I can make it very simple, no deliveries, no jobs. And as for the supermarket chains, it's much easier for me to strike deals. We grow mushrooms too. The quality isn't great, but I can offer buyers such a price that your little mushroom venture will sink fast. I'll give you a week to think it over. Good day. Carolina stood frozen, trembling violently. The man's energy had drained her confidence completely. He's bluffing, Esteban's voice sounded beside her. Don't listen to him. Last year he already tried to sell his mushrooms to our buyers. Didn't work, even at half the price. Forget it. Just do your thing, trust yourself and trust us. As for him firing people, who cares? Come autumn, the locals will bring you so many porcini they'll make their year's wages. He won't scare them off. And if he loses all his workers, he'll risk going bankrupt himself. Then he'll have to hire unreliable drifters, risky business, or try to lure in city folks or people from other villages. But who's going to come? Unless he pays much higher wages. No, Carolina, here he's in the weaker position. Don't bend. You've got it easier. And even if it all turns out not to be your thing, you can always lease the place out and live on that. Plenty of people would want it. By the way, how's it going with the tourists? 2 cottages rented for a week, Carolina sighed. Not much, but it's a start. And the first oyster mushroom harvest is almost ready. Mercedes is giving the most optimistic forecasts, also for the forest mushrooms. And tomorrow I'm heading into the city, refresh some old connections with buyers. Someone's supposed to pick me up. By mid-August, a real boom had begun. Carolina hadn't expected such an influx of tourists and mushroom pickers. Just as Mercedes predicted, the gatherers were in high gear. The forests were bursting with aspen mushrooms and porcini. People brought them in sacks and baskets, until the whole yard was filled with the aroma of fresh mushrooms. Needless to say, Carolina's main diet those weeks was mushroom stew and fried mushrooms. She was delighted. Exhausting, backbreaking work ate up all her time and energy, but she loved it. She loved talking with the pickers, paying them, seeing their happy faces. Andres showed up a few more times, but Esteban chased him off before he could get near the hostess. The mushrooms grown in the hangar also sold like hotcakes. Carolina had no idea there would be such high demand. The workers who had once worked with Rosa skillfully sorted mushrooms onto the drying racks, sliced, cleaned, filled the freezers. A few men signed on to deliver goods into the city. Work was in full swing. Only now did Carolina realize how hard it all was and how rewarding. Carolina, Esteban called out, "Come over here." "You have the worst timing," she pulled a machinoid face. "I'm dead on my feet. Today was a real mushroom Armageddon, and on top of that, I've got a pre-order for 3 tons of frozen porcini. Can you imagine how much money that is?" At first I thought Aunt Rosa's savings were melting away without bringing anything back. But as soon as the season started, I realized it was all worth it. Just another month and I'll finally be able to breathe easy. "So, what did you want?" "I can't find the booking schedule for the guest cottages. Got a request from a couple. They want to come for the weekend. Husband and wife. Do we have anything free?" "Let me check." Carolina buried her face in her phone. "Yep, one frees up on the 17th. That's Friday. They can check in after lunch. Can you reply to them?" "All right. I've got to run, another whole truckload just came in." With her galoshes slapping, Carolina rushed off to the receiving area, leaving Esteban baffled. Watching her quick, purposeful figure, he thought about how fast she had adapted, as if she had been doing this work her whole life and nothing else. He found it hard to believe that just a year ago she had done nothing but sit at home, spending her husband's money. "Welcome." Esteban greeted the Friday guests with a wide smile. It was a married couple. "My name's Esteban, I'm the manager. You can leave your things here for now. I'll take you over and then help bring everything in." "Nicholas," the man shook his hand. "And this is my wife, Paula." "Expecting soon?" Esteban winked, glancing at the woman's rounded belly. "Yes," she smiled. "We thought we'd spend a little time together before it's too late. I found you online, so many good reviews. And it's not as far from the city as other similar places. Don't worry, I'm not due for a couple of months yet, so I won't be any trouble. And we're only here for a few days." "That's a shame." The man looked around. "The nature here is stunning. I'd stay forever. But work." Esteban led them to the free cottage. "For now, make yourselves comfortable," he smiled. "Don't mind the noise. It's mushroom season, and my boss is right in the middle of it. Things will quiet down by evening, and there's no intake on weekends, so you'll have peace." "Interesting." Nicholas looked around. "By the way, that's a beautiful main house." "Not mine to boast of," Esteban laughed. "I haven't even been in all the rooms. I don't live there myself, I'm next door. Later, when the hostess is free, you'll meet her. She can give you a tour inside." "Perfect," Nicholas nodded. By evening, when the mushroom intake was finished, Carolina collapsed onto a bench in the gazebo. Out of the corner of her eye she noticed a couple near one of the cottages. "Ah, that must be the pair with the pregnant wife Esteban mentioned. I should at least go say hello. Then rest," she thought. Carolina stood up and headed toward the guest cottages. "Good evening," she called out when she came up to their cottage. Nicholas started, then froze. "Carolina? What are you doing here? Do you live nearby? I was going to look for you tomorrow, check how you're doing, but you got ahead of me. You work here, picking mushrooms?" I do, Carolina sighed, suddenly realizing she no longer felt anything for her ex-husband. I'm dead tired, completely worn out. I'm glad. Glad to see you, I mean. You look well, healthy complexion. Hard work suits you. And how did you find us? By accident? I didn't expect it was you. Esteban just said some couple was coming, but he didn't mention names. I wanted to see you, ask about the house. The house? Esteban? Oh, the guy who checked you in? No, he must have mixed something up. I wanted to talk to the hostess. Well, you're talking to her, Carolina replied with satisfaction. Come on, Carolina, stop joking. It's great you're in such a good mood, but I'm not here for games. I am the hostess of this house, this land, this business. So what exactly do you want to know? Wait, you're kidding? Nicholas was stunned. Where did all this come from? You left for some miserable shack your aunt left you. And this is that very shack, Carolina laughed. I remember how you mocked it for so long and tried to talk me out of coming here. But sometimes dreams come true, especially when you stop feeling sorry for yourself and finally get a purpose. So don't be surprised that my life turned out so well. In many ways, I have you to thank. If not for the divorce, I probably never would have come here at all. Anyway, I won't bother you too. Enjoy your stay. And enjoy our nature. Carolina lifted her head proudly and, her galoshes slapping against the overgrown paving stones, marched off, leaving her ex-husband standing with his mouth open. The next morning, Carolina woke to a knock at the door. On the threshold stood a worried Esteban. Carolina, we've got a problem, he said, stepping inside. Andres went around the whole village yesterday. He told people that if they work with you, they'll lose their jobs on his farm. Many got scared. And now? Carolina frowned. Half the foragers went to him this morning. They're afraid of being left without money for the winter. You know how it is, families, kids. Carolina silently poured herself a cup of coffee. She understood the villagers, but that didn't make it any easier. And what does Mercedes say? She's furious. Says we can't give up so easily. She's got a plan. Just then, Mercedes herself entered the house, and right behind her Nicholas. Good morning, the ex-husband greeted awkwardly. Carolina, can we talk? I'm listening, she replied coldly. I thought about what I saw yesterday all night. You really managed to build all this on your own? Not on my own. Wonderful people helped me, she said, glancing at Esteban and Mercedes. I want to apologize, Nicholas continued, for the way I treated you, for not believing in you. You were always stronger than I thought. Thank you, but that's in the past, Carolina replied calmly. I know, but maybe I could still help somehow. I have connections in the city, I could. No, Carolina said firmly. I don't need your help. I have everything I need. Nicholas nodded and quietly left. Well done, Mercedes approved with a nod. Now let's solve our problems. I've got an idea. By evening, the plan was ready. Mercedes reached out to her old colleagues at a scientific institute. It turned out they had long been looking for a reliable supplier of eco-friendly mushrooms for their research. In addition, several restaurants in the capital were ready to pay premium prices for high-quality produce. You see, the old woman explained, we don't need to depend on the local foragers. We can reorient ourselves toward high-grade products. Let Andres buy up common mushrooms for pennies, while we grow delicacies. The following weeks were intense. Carolina traveled to the city, building new connections and studying the requirements for organic certification. Esteban helped convert part of the greenhouses for the new mushroom varieties. Andres came by several times, each visit with increasingly tempting offers to buy the land. But Carolina remained adamant. You'll regret this, he snarled the last time. Without the local pickers, you won't last long. We'll see, Carolina answered calmly. The first order from a capital restaurant arrived in early October, 5 kilograms of fresh shiitake and 3 kilograms of truffle mushrooms. The price was 4 times higher than what Andres had been offering. Do you see this? Carolina beamed, showing Esteban the contract. If we can handle a few more orders like this, we'll cover all our expenses. Of course we can, he smiled. You're a real businesswoman now. Their eyes met, and Carolina suddenly realized how dear Esteban had become to her over these months. Not just as a helper and friend, but more. Esteban, she said softly, thank you. For everything. There's nothing to thank me for, he replied just as quietly, stepping closer. I like being near you. He gently took her hand, and Carolina didn't pull away. You know, she whispered, when I came here, I thought I was just running from my problems. But it turns out I found a new life. And I like this new life too, Esteban smiled. Winter passed quietly. The tourist season was over, but the mushroom farm continued to run steadily. Carolina had learned all the intricacies of the business, established supplies to several restaurants, and even began exporting rare mushroom varieties to neighboring countries. Mercedes had almost stopped drinking and threw herself enthusiastically into breeding new strains, and Esteban officially became the farm's manager. In the spring, unexpected news arrived. Andres had gone bankrupt. His agribusiness couldn't compete with the large corporations, and the local villagers, left without jobs, began leaving the village in droves. It's bad, Mercedes sighed. The village will empty out completely. It won't, Carolina said firmly. We'll create jobs. We'll expand production, open courses on mushroom cultivation, and welcome more tourists. And indeed, by summer Carolina's farm had become a true center of attraction. People came not only to rest but also to learn. Many locals found work in the growing production. One evening, as she and Esteban sat on the veranda watching the sunset, Carolina said, "You know, I never thought I'd be this happy. Here, I finally understood who I really am." "And who are you?" Esteban asked with a smile. "I'm someone who can create, help others, build something real. Not just sit prettily at home spending someone else's money." "I like this new Carolina," Esteban said, putting his arm around her. "So do I," she laughed. "Thank you for believing in me from the very beginning." They sat in silence, listening to the sounds of awakening nature. Ahead of them lay so many plans: new mushroom varieties, expansion of the tourist base, maybe even forming a cooperative with other farmers. Carolina smiled, recalling Nicholas's words about the shabby little shack. How wrong he had been. This inheritance had given her not just a house and land, it had given her a new life, true love, and the understanding that happiness must be built with one's own hands. And somewhere far away in the city, Nicholas told Paula about his remarkable ex-wife, who had managed to turn an abandoned village estate into a thriving business. And although he never said it aloud, deep down he envied her courage and the happiness that shone in her eyes.
If you're enjoying it as well, leave a like and subscribe to the channel.